What is up, Packer fans? After 6 months, it is finally here. It is finally the day. We are finally going to kick off against the Minnesota Vikings, an arch rival for many, many years, a team that's kind of always been a little thorn in the Packers' side. Um, Always pretty good, but not quite good enough to really make runs, but a team that has our number from time to time. Kirk Cousins has had our number from time to time, and Mike Zimmer's had Rodgers' number from time to time. Obviously, now the Minnesota Vikings dropped Mike Zimmer. They went and got Kevin O'Connell, an offensive coach for this offensive league for his quarterback-driven team, and so I'm excited to see what the Vikings look like this year. A lot of people are picking the Vikings to be maybe not a Super Bowl contender, but at least as the division winner. They like, obviously the new coach. They like Justin Jefferson. They like Dalvin Cook. Kirk Cousins is just good enough. They know that he is probably the best in the league at getting paid, guaranteed money, but he's not really the best on the field when it comes to playing quarterback. So he's not prime time Kurt. He's, noon game Kurt. So I've always liked Kirk Cousins. He came out of Michigan State. We watched them play against the Wisconsin Badgers. Badgers had a tough loss yesterday. Don't even want to talk about it yet. But for today, it is my birthday. Thank you guys. Happy birthday. And so the Packers winning would be ideal. Last year, kind of around my birthday for week one, they got their butts kicked 35-3 by the Saints. Jameis Winston down in Jacksonville because of the displacement because of the hurricane last year. But was a horrible way to start the season. However, for me, I took it as, okay, week one was a preseason game. None of the starters really played. They didn't really have the same kind of training camp because Rodgers wasn't around much. This year was way different than that. Completely different than that. Every part of it was different, and it's a completely different situation this year. Rodgers was there the whole time. He's been super involved, and all of the, they didn't have Jordan Love doing a lot of the, first team reps for the whole entire training camp. Rodgers was there, and I think this team, even though it's young with the receivers and kind of now at the offensive line because of the injuries, they still have a really solid group of guys, a really solid core group of guys, and just, a really good mix of veterans and young players. And that's kind of key because you need to have guys that have been there before that can show these young guys how to be a pro. And then, first play of the game, Bears almost threw an interception. Go figure. But so it's going to be tough to see how this team kind of comes along. But I think with Aaron Rodgers at the helm, with Matt LaFleur, who is, I think whether he wins today's game or loses today's game, either way it's his 40th game, I believe. And whether he wins or loses, he'll have the winningest record for 40 after 40 games in an NFL coaching career. So congratulations, Matt LaFleur. Make sure that's right, but I think it is. And so that's pretty cool. Obviously, he's a product of Aaron Rodgers, but Mike McCarthy had Rodgers too. They won a Super Bowl. I get it. They kind of fizzled out and kind of lost their mojo. But still, they didn't have the same success. Rodgers missed the playoffs. I know he got hurt and stuff, and it was just a bad situation. But LaFleur to come in with a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who's kind of a diva, and everybody, the way people think about him, and come in and do what he did and do what he has done as a coach and kind of just, back-to-back NFC Championship games and the number one seed. And so they really had a lot of success already. They haven't won the Super Bowl yet, which is kind of the standard, but we only have 4 out of, 56 years now? So, it might be the standard, but we haven't done it a whole lot. So for him to keep us really, really close every year, keep us in contention, Rodgers is like 1-4 in NFC Championship games, which has to change this year. He has to be 2-4 this year. He can't be 1-5. Last year we didn't even make it to the championship game. We were in the divisional round and we lost at home as a number one seed, as we all know, against this 49ers team that's playing the Bears right now. They just sacked Justin Fields, but Anyway, um, get to see Trey Lance. So everybody wanted to talk about Trey Lance, so we'll get to see. But anyway, Packers look like they will be, a team to beat this year with this defense. This defense is going to keep us in games. Then we're going to run the ball with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. I think these two guys can be one of the most, if not the most, dynamic duos as running backs, like a running back tandem in the NFL, with guys, like Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb kind of as the main top competition. There's other two-back tandems. You got, I think, Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert down in Miami, and, the 49ers have their guys who they use, I don't know, like Elijah Mitchell and whoever they'd call their other running back, I guess, Debo. That's a pretty good tandem. So, there is competition, but I think this running back tandem with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, obviously if they can stay healthy, everything is about health in this league. But, I just love Dillon. I think this guy can really be that force the Packers need at running back kind of in the late December and January when you need a ground and pound guy, or at the end of a game when you need a guy that gets you just a few yards here and there, or just keep the ball moving down the field, run some clock. He's a guy that can do that. Aaron Jones is just so explosive, catching the ball in the backfield. He had 9 catches for like 129 yards in that divisional game against the Niners. He led the team, or tied the team for receptions with Devontae, who had 9 as well, and then had, I think he had like 39 yards more receiving than Devontae that game. He can have that many catches, like, a few games this season. He can push 70 catches this year because he is so dynamic catching the ball and so quick running it. I love this combination. I want to see them do a lot of 2-back sets using both of these guys, maybe in the shotgun with one on each side, and you could hand it to either side and they could go, or you could pass it to them going out, and I think that could be really effective. We haven't seen a lot of that at all, so I look for them to start doing that. And then, they're going to be using Amari Rodgers in the backfield as well. That's kind of why they only kept the 2 running backs. They want to see what Amari can do, kind of like that Ty Montgomery role back in the day. But Amari is a little more dynamic, a little bit quicker, a little bit smaller, and I think he's a guy that can really, make some plays. He can be a dynamic, kind of Swiss Army knife threat that we haven't really had for a while in Green Bay. He's not really Debo, but he can kind of play that Debo role where he just kind of comes in on a lot of misdirection runs and kind of intricate, involve some of those, that 49ers kind of misdirection crazy run schemes, because they do pop wide open, and you got to take some of those because they are really effective, and we have the guys to do it. And I think Amari Rodgers can step up and kind of be a guy that does more of that for us, which I think could be really good. I think he only had 4 catches last year, so to get him a few more catches this year is going to be a big deal. They can't just keep having him not involved. A 3rd-round pick last year, a guy that played for Clemson, who really, he should be more productive than he has been. So I just like what they're doing. He hasn't had really much of a role as a receiver, so kind of put him back there as a running back. I don't want to take touches away from Dillon or Jones really in the backfield, but when you can throw a guy back there that can be dynamic and kind of change up things, it could be a real big hitter for this Green Bay Packers offense. So then, wide receiver, we know Lazard's not going to be playing, so it's going to be huge for Romeo Doubs. I want to start with, it's going to be huge for Sammy Watkins and Randall Cobb. It is going to be huge for Romeo Doubs, but I'm going to get to that in a second. It's going to be huge for the vets, Sammy Watkins and Randall Cobb, because, Rodgers did say they've had some of the best camps he's seen of guys, and, Deebo Samuel just fumbled it. Wow. Bears recovered. Crazy. First handoff of the season, Deebo fumbles. Anyway, Sammy Watkins, he's a guy trying to revamp his career, trying to get his career going again, trying to, get involved with, or try to, prove that he can be the guy and get a contract later on. He's probably not going to be in Green Bay if he has a good season next year. He's probably not going to be in Green Bay if he has a bad season this year. So either way, he's probably not going to be in Green Bay, but it's up to him whether or not he's going to get a contract somewhere else. If he plays really well with Aaron Rodgers, which he could, maybe he gets a big contract. But as a 4th pick in the draft in 2013 from Buffalo got him, I just think this guy could be super crazy dynamic. He's even 28. He's younger than Devontae. And he's basically Devontae's size, 6'1", 200, 20, but he's a lot more physical than Devontae. Devontae was so fluid and kind of just crispy, Sammy Watkins has a little more edge to him, so a little more aggressive, but that's maybe why he gets hurt and stuff, but I hope he can stay healthy. I just like what I see out of him. I just really like what he brings to this team. He can be a super good player. We got him for nothing, and no one's really thinking highly of him. But this guy could really have a crazy good season, especially now with Lazard hurt. Who knows how long that'll be. And Lazard was supposed to be slated as the number 1. Now Sammy Watkins, who was the number 2, becomes this number 1 for now. You bring in Randall Cobb as the kind of the slot guy, but it was supposed to be Sammy Watkins, Lazard. Now it's Sammy Watkins, Romeo Doubs. And I like Romeo Doubs so much. You guys know that. I've been talking about Romeo Doubs since the beginning, since before training camp. Since we drafted him out in Nevada in the 4th round, I've been saying, wow, this guy, he big play and humble kid and just wants to learn. And then he showed everybody else what he could do after I had been saying, watch for this guy, watch for this guy, watch for this guy. Now he's been the talk of camp, and now he's going to get his chance. So watch for this guy. I think he's going to take over probably as the number 2, number 1 receiver role, and he's just going to run with it. He's going to be the Devontae of the system. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. Devontae was 6'1", 215 pounds or so. But they can add some weight to him, and he's basically Devontae. However, he runs a 4.5 40. Devontae ran a 4.56 40. Not much of a difference, but still he's faster. So he's bigger than Devontae and faster than Devontae. And he looks like he has a skill set similar to NFL receivers that have success. I'm not saying he's Devontae at all. He doesn't have the footwork. Devontae is one of a kind and special. But I just think that Romeo Doubs can really be a solid number 1. I think he's going to break all wide receiver rookie records for the Packers. He might hit 1,000 yards as a rookie, and that's never been done for the Packers rookie. So I look for him to have a really big season. I think he's going to kind of develop into that go-to guy for Aaron Rodgers, and I just really like what I saw out of him in preseason and in training camp. He just proved exactly what I thought he could be, and as Watson kind of came on slow and was injured at first, it really gave Doubs the time to just shine. He had no high draft pick in front of him that was kind of showing him up. He was able to just do what he had to do, and he was doing it. So, but now, like I said, Christian Watson, this guy's healthy. He's going to get to play today. I'm super pumped to see him. 6'5", runs a 4.3 40. Basically, Marquez Valdes-Scantling size, but he's in speed, but he's actually a little bit heavier, a little bit more solid, and he still can grow into more of a physical body. But this guy, Rodgers said he looks like the baby giraffe out there, but he's kind of, more like a deer prancing around. So this guy, I'm excited to see. He can just be super dynamic. Just get him open in space a little bit. Get him going vertical, one-on-one against the guy. Have him go up and make a play. At 6'5", most of these corners, we have 2 tall corners, and Stokes at 6'1", and Douglas at 6'2". Having a 6'5" receiver going up against guys who are 6 foot and under, I mean, obviously Jair's really talented and he's not even 5'10", but most of the time they're short and you can get up over them. So I'm excited to see what these guys do, how Christian Watson kind of develops. I don't think he's going to have as dynamic of a season as Romeo Doubs, but I still see Watson being a big part of this offense. He's going to be that number 4 receiver now, kind of with Watkins, Cobb, Doubs, and then Watson. So Juwan Winfrey might get brought into the fold if there's any other issues. So, I mean, this guy needs to stay ready on the practice squad. But then Samori Toure, who I like a lot. He's 6'1", and he's a blazer too, 4.38 speed. This guy can really had some nice catches, and Rodgers just said he needs to just settle down just a little bit. He's just a little bit, he just needs to just, take every day just one day at a time, But you see the talent, you see the explosiveness, you see the ability, and you see why the Packers drafted him and why they kept him on the 53-man. But it's, with all these guys, it's a lot of question marks. They're all young. You can't throw it to Randall Cobb and Sammy Watkins on every play. I guess they did throw it to Devontae on every play, but Devontae's different, But, you Randall Cobb's, a guy that's been around a long time now and really played with Rodgers for many years, and still savvy, not going to burn a lot of guys deep, but in short space he can be really efficient. Same thing Watkins has deep speed, but that's why these young guys with their skill sets, with Dobbs' skill set and Watson's skill set and even Touré's skill set, these guys can all be super productive in this offense. Rodgers is going to put the ball on you. Rodgers is going to throw you open. LaFleur is going to scheme you open. All you have to do is catch it. All you have to do is run your route right and catch the ball, and you're going to have success. And so I think, out of these three receivers, at least one of them is going to really pop. One of them is going to really pop, and I think that's Dobbs. And I think the other two can have decent seasons. I think the last rookie to really have success was a few years ago. 38 catches is like the most, I think, for a rookie for the Packers, which seems really low, but I'll have to check that stat. It's something that I didn't look into enough, but I know that a lot of these rookie receivers haven't had a lot of success. Javon Walker, he was one of my favorites back in the day, but even he didn't really live up to anything until later on in his career, and still probably didn't reach his full potential. But Packers, Devontae took 4 years to get going, and Jordy Nelson kind of took a few years to get going, and Randall Cobb even came in after that Super Bowl year and took a little bit of time to get going. He did return a punt in his first game for a touchdown, but as a receiver he took a little bit of time to get going. Greg Jennings, same thing, but he was with Favre, so kind of different then. But anyway, it could be a process for these young receivers, and we can't that's why try not to expect too much from them. I think they have a lot of talent, but Dobbs is going to drop some, and it's going to bother us, and he's going to drop it when it probably, hopefully when it doesn't matter the most, but he's going to drop it when we need him to catch it, and we're going to have to work through that. We did it with Devontae. We've done it with, other guys like Jermichael Finley in the past. A lot of guys come in and struggle catching the ball early, and then they kind of build into being a lot more productive and just kind of working through those thoughts, or those, kind of those mental errors that make you drop it and able to just become really good. So we got to be just patient with them. But then they're going to make some big plays. Watson and Dobbs make some real big plays, and I think it can be really dynamic on the outside. I think Cobb's going to kind of first couple weeks he'll probably be in there, but I think slowly that these young guys are going to kind of push him out of the starting lineup, and he'll be a guy that could rotate in, but you're going to see him on the sidelines more kind of coaching up these guys, kind of just being a mentor for these young guys. Watkins, I think, if he can stay healthy, he can have a really good year all season. Hopefully Lazard can get back, but until he is back, there's we have to go with what we got. So that's tough, but I really thought Lazard could be a wide receiver one. I was super excited to see what he could do. And I think he'll be back soon, but this whole thing has kind of just popped up out of nowhere. Didn't really know that there was an issue until this week. And then, kind of heard that he wasn't going to be there. So kind of tough, but just opens up these doors and opportunities for these young guys. And I can't wait. I'm super excited to see what they can do. So that's where that's why it's so important for these running backs, A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones, to really get in there and be dynamic. They have to be successful running the ball and getting the ball down the field in the pass game to both of those guys. You got both of those guys running out for routes. Having two options like that and then having other guys running routes down the field, you have like an AB, like either one of them is going to be open probably. There's not a high chance that they're both going to be super tight covered as they both come out. So you're going to have options, and with both these guys, they're dynamic. A.J. Dillon gets it, he's just going to plow through corners, and then Aaron Jones gets it, and he just kind of, skirts down the sideline for 20, 30 yards. So I like what they bring. They're going to be really dynamic part of the pass game, trying to give these young receivers some time to kind of get acclimated. So, that's why Robert Tonyan being back. He is back today. I didn't mention that on the injury report video. He is going to be back today. That's a huge lift for this Packers offense. Jenkins and Bakhtiari on the offensive line are not, so that's where the injury report kind of stems from with Allen Lazard. Tonyan was another guy who tore his ACL October 29th last year against Arizona. The thing is, Kevin Hill, the running back, tore it the same game. Robert Tonyan's bigger, and he's back. Hill is still on the pup. And now these other two injuries, we all know Bakhtiari's been out since New Year's Eve of 2020, and Jenkins hurt his knee last July. So it's tough though because now, Justin Fields just threw an interception. So it's tough though because now with the offensive line, with Bakhtiari and Jenkins both out, we bring in these young guys, and it's going to be a mix of, Yash from last year on the left tackle, I like Yash. He's a big guy. He hasn't played a lot of football in his career as a whole since like high school. I think he didn't start till he was a lot older, and so this guy only has upside. It's just nothing but up from here really for him. I like him a lot. I think he's 6'8". He's just really a big dude, and Rodgers likes him. Then next to him you have John Runyon Jr., whose dad, John Runyon, played in this league for a long time. He was really a solid player. I always liked him when I was younger. Obviously, I think his dad played tackle, but his son, John Runyon Jr., has been a really solid left guard. I think that's going to be his spot all season. He just looks really comfortable there. And, I kind of think that's where Zach Tom should end up when he comes into this team, unless he plays a tackle spot. But Zach Tom will be able to come in and play whatever position they need him to, if they do need to go that route. And with all these young guys and with these injuries, you could see Zach Tom out there, number 50. You could see him out there at a point on the offensive line. He did play center in college. He did play left tackle in college. He looks better as a guard in the NFL here, but he can pretty much play anywhere. So look for that in case there is issues. But John Runyon Jr. played a lot of snaps last year as a young player, kind of just learning this team, learning this league, kind of learning the system, and he stepped up. He played well. He played really well. That's why he got this first look, and he didn't relinquish it all season or all training camp. So I like John Runyon Jr. I think if he has any of obviously he has the pedigree of his father, but if he has any of that, the career that his father had, he will be a Packer for a long time at that guard position. So the next to him at center, the second year, Josh Myers coming in. He had a tough season last year after he got hurt and kind of before he got hurt. But at center, like I said, it's a tough spot to play in, and I think he can be a really solid guy in the middle there. We let go of Corey Linsley, who went to the Chargers. He played for Ohio State, and now he went to, the Chargers, obviously, after going through the Packers. But Josh Myers played for Ohio State, too. We got him right after that, and, hopefully if he can have any of the career that Corey Linsley had for the Packers, becoming one of the best centers in the league, that would be huge if Josh Myers could do that for the Packers. It's just a bummer because the Packers drafted Josh Myers, but Creed Humphreys was available, and that's who the Chiefs got. After last year, Creed Humphreys, many had said Creed Humphreys looked like probably the best center in the league, even better than Corey Linsley. And, that was just some analyst talk. But for us to take Josh Myers right before him and had a chance at Creed Humphreys, but, we'll see. So hopefully Josh can step up and really be a guy that can be a solid center for a long time, but he'll always be kind of compared with Creed Humphreys, so we'll see how their career trajectories go. But then next to him, this is the biggest question mark on the offensive line. I know we have the injuries, but, I kind of knew Bach wasn't going to play. I knew Bach wasn't going to play. I kind of had said that for a while now. I didn't think Bach was going to play, so I wanted him to play. I wished he would play. I didn't say that. I didn't want him to not play. But if he wasn't ready and they didn't think he was ready, I was comfortable with Yash. I really am. Like I said, he's huge and really was consistent last year. So I like what I saw to him. And then, then John Runyon Jr. and everything I think was good. But the biggest question mark is the right guard spot with Jake Hansen. I kind of, like I said, I thought Jenkins might play. But, so we do have question mark at the right tackle spot too, but that right guard spot with Jake Hansen, a guy who didn't play any snaps last year, kind of got brought in this year and kind of got the first look and really played well, And even if Jenkins comes in at that right tackle spot, they kick out Royce Newman and they don't slide Newman into that right guard spot. Jake Hansen still had that right guard spot, which means that he totally won it. They weren't kind of just giving it to him because he was the only guy that was like the best guy for that spot, and they didn't want to have Zach Tom, the rookie, have it yet. So, but no, Jake Hansen won that job, has that job, and really looks good. Oh, the Lions scored against the Eagles, so they're up 7-0. But um, Jake Hansen keeping that job is just so huge. So I think he could be really good, but he is a big question mark because he hasn't really played a lot in the NFL on the offensive line. So then next to him, Royce Newman, who played a lot of guard last year. He's a guy like John Runyon Jr., who got a lot of snaps last year, played well, played good enough, to kind of get this look and get this opportunity. So I really liked what I saw out of him. Like I said, if Jenkins was in, that would be ideal to have Bakhtiari and Elkin Jenkins as the bookends. But I really think they just want to be ready for the playoffs. They want these guys to be top notch for the playoffs. They don't want them, week one, it's a long season. You got 18 weeks here. They're going to London. They have all this stuff going on. There's no rush to get them in there. Obviously, I would have preferred to have them both there against Zadarius Smith so that he wouldn't sack Aaron Rodgers. But he still could have sacked him even with them in there. And now, maybe he has less of a chance because these guys are going to want to body him up as well. Everybody heard the comments. He was kind of whining about not being team captain when he wasn't even going to be on the field. It didn't make sense. If you were on the field, you would have been the captain, but you were hurt all season. So the whole thing kind of was weird, and he wanted more respect than he didn't understand it was about the team, not about him. You want to have captains who are going to be on the field because you need those guys to kind of be the leaders on the field. When you're on the sidelines, you can't really lead the same way. You can lead, but just not in the same way. So I understood the whole thing what the Packers did, and he didn't like it, and then he could have went to the Ravens, and he said he didn't want to, and now he's like, they didn't want me, and all this stuff. It's, I liked Z. I liked his personality. I thought he was a good player, but if you disrespect the G, that's where it ends with me. So that's why it's not a fan of a lot of Bears fans or Cowboys fans or 49ers fans. So it's, but it's going to be tough for these young guys to block Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter, and they have some guys up front that are pretty good. With obviously Jordan Hicks and Eric Kendricks, and so they have a good solid group up front for the Vikings. So I am a little more worried now about this Packers offensive line. Like I said, Royce Newman at right tackle, Jake Hansen at right guard, both guys who haven't really played a lot. Josh Myers at center, who was hurt for about, 12 games last season. And then you have John Runyon Jr. next to him, who did play a lot last year, but is still only in his second year, I believe. And then Yash next to him at left tackle, who's played a lot of snaps at left tackle last year, but still only has a few starts, I think under 5 starts in his belt. So this is really kind of a difficult situation. Well, actually, he probably has more than 5. I think they kind of ended up with him at the end of the season last year. But they were rotating so many guys in and out and just kind of seeing what worked. And then Jenkins came in, and then that wasn't last year. That was 2 years ago. So it'll be interesting to see how this offensive line works out, how it stays, how it kind of flows all season. Like I said, I really like Zach Tom as a rotational guy. If there's any issues anywhere on the offensive line, he can pretty much come in. Maybe not left tackle, but most of the other spots, if there's an issue, he can come in. He might be able to play left tackle, but now we're kind of thin on the offensive line, and that's why we kept 10 of them, I think, with Rasheed Walker and everything. So I think that we have Sean Ryan, who can play guard really well. I think he could be solid if we need to throw him in there, but we're kind of thin at tackle now with no Bach and no Jenkins. So that's going to be a question mark. If one of these guys gets hurt, I don't know who they bring in. If Yash gets hurt, I don't know who they bring in at left tackle. Probably Zach Tom, but they might kick. I don't even know if they'd kick anybody out from the other side or inside. So something to watch. Hopefully we don't have to worry about that. Knock on fake. Well, that's real wood. That's real wood. So hopefully we don't have to worry about that. It's just something to think about, something to look into. I'm just concerned about this offensive line kind of not allowing the running game to get going, which kind of puts a lot of pressure on the passing game, and these young guys not having the experience to kind of really push push through some of what they don't know in this first game, and I think it could be difficult. But if this offensive line can be just decent enough for Rodgers can make some plays and this running game can get going a little bit, I really think that this team can be super good this first week on offense. I'm not worried about the running backs, not worried about Aaron Rodgers. The receivers I think will be formidable enough that I think they can be good. And I'm not really, just a little bit worried about some of the guys on the offensive line. But I think the Packers knew this would be the scenario going in. And that's why this has been the starting five since the beginning of training camp. This has been the starting five since the beginning of preseason. They started every single game in the preseason together, and they started every single practice together. This five guys has had the most experience out of pretty much any five guys the Packers have had for a lot of years leading into camp, except for when all their starters were healthy. But this is a super solid group of guys that they put together. And like I said, they gave him a lot of time to play in this, over the course of the last couple months here. And so they do have some camaraderie. It's not just throwing another guy in the mix. And I really think that these guys can be good. I'm just saying it's a question mark. Just saying it's a question mark. So then on the defensive side of the ball, this defense is going to be so damn good. I'm not even concerned about these guys at all. From the outside to the inside to the secondary, the only issue we might have is on special teams. Where are we going to get kick return coverage from? Where are we going to get punt return coverage from? Where are we going to get kick return from? Where are we going to get punt return from? Crosby is back. Mason Crosby is back. I know you guys love Mason Crosby, and last year he only kicked 77%, which isn't very good. So hopefully he has a bounce back season this year. We do have Ahmed Ahmed on the practice squad, and so if Crosby has issues, gets hurt, we do have a guy that has a leg behind him. But Jack Coco won the long snapper spot. He will be long snapping. We will see how he can do in his first game action. I'm excited to see what he is all about. The rest of this special teams unit as a whole, I know they have Amari Rodgers returning kicks. We might see Christian Watson back there, maybe returning kicks or punts. Who knows who else they might put back there. Samari Toure can return kicks, and Randall Cobb can return. So he's a little old for a returner, but we could see it. So it will be interesting to see what they do on special teams. Rich Bisaccia came over here from the Vegas Raiders. He was the interim head coach for them for a while. So I look for the special teams to really improve. He said it's a fluid situation where it's always going to be ever changing and all. I just tackle the guy on the other team when they have the ball. I don't care about all this other talk. Just don't let them get to midfield when they're returning the opening kickoff, and we'll all be good. So it's just it doesn't help when your offense is kind of a question mark. Your defense is good, but if your special teams keeps giving the other team the ball at midfield, that's going to put a lot of pressure on the defense, and that in turn is going to make it stressful for the offense to kind of keep up with the other team's offense if the other team is always starting at midfield, because the special teams suck. So it's all three phases have to work together. I know we hear that a lot from coaches and players and everything, but it is true. All these phases have to work together. Offense, defense, and special teams. And last year, this catalyst for this Green Bay Packers team was the special teams. We all know what happened against the 49ers. The punt block in the back, or towards our end zone. We were kicking from inside the 20, and it got blocked into the end zone for a touchdown. Tied the game up. Rodgers could get the ball moving down the field, and we had a punt again. This time we got it away, but enough time for Jimmy G to get down and have Robbie Gould kick a game-winning field goal. So really tough way to lose, especially after the defense dominated all game. Really only held the offense, the 49ers offense, to 3 points until the final kick that made it 13, but that 7 came from the special teams. So that Packers defense held 49ers to 3 points until the very final kick, and that's huge, especially in the playoff game. But the offense couldn't get more going, and the special teams kind of couldn't just do their job. They don't have to do anything special most of the time on special teams. Just don't be the reason you lose the game for your team. And I mean, I know people would argue that Rodgers had his chances and he should have done more, and I will support that argument. But without that punt block, there is no reason for Rodgers to do more. So all phases have to do the same thing. They would have only scored, they would have had the ball. They would have been down, but they would have had to score a touchdown on that last drive instead of a field goal, and that would have been the difference because they hadn't scored a touchdown all game. And this Packers defense is super good. I know they gave up a bunch of points to Kirk Cousins last year, but they didn't have Zadarius Smith or Jair Alexander, and they had a bunch of guys kind of injured on different weeks and everything, so it was a different situation. They had a young Eric Stokes then, and I don't think they had Rasul Douglas at that point, so now they have all that and more with Quay Walker and, Devontae Wyatt and Kenny Clark and Devondre. It's just, I'm so excited about this Packers defense. We could have Kenny Clark in the Pro Bowl, Kenny Clark in the Pro Bowl, Rashawn Gary in the Pro Bowl, Devondre Campbell in the Pro Bowl, Jair Alexander in the Pro Bowl, Adrian Amos in the Pro Bowl, and then you could even throw, Savage can make it, Stokes can make it, Douglas can make it again, and then, Preston Smith could always make it. It's just, then you have Jaron Reed, who had 6.5 sacks 2 years ago, and then you throw a guy like Devontae Wyatt in there, and just a nice old stud, Lowry, so Dean Lowry, and I'm super excited about this defense. And every year, you have question marks. A couple years ago we had Kevin King as our number 2 corner. Now he'd be like the number 4 corner, and he's not even on the team, obviously. But if he was, he would have been. They just stopped giving him chances. But it's impressive to see what this team has become, what kind of talent they have. A mix of free agents, draft picks. It's really, really awesome that with Douglas and Campbell and Reed. And Preston Smith was, a free agent or pickup. And then you drafted Kenny Clark and Darnell Savage. You even, Amos was a free agent pickup from the Bears. So, but then you draft Savage and Jair and Gary and Kenny Clark and Quay Walker. It's a really good mix on this defense of guys that have been around the league and guys that are new to the team, homegrown guys. So I love this defense. And to be real with you guys, I've always been biased, obviously, with the Packers, and I've always thought they had a chance no matter what, especially when you have Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre. You always think the Packers had a chance. But to be real, a lot of those teams you look at and have question marks. When we had Jake Ryan as our middle linebacker, I didn't really like that. I knew that he had a lot of holes, Blake Martinez, I never was really high on, Having Chris Barnes, he was quick, but he wasn't, kind of an undrafted guy as your middle line. There was times where we had guys on the defensive line or the linebackers, or like I said about the corners with having Kevin King or Ladarius Gunter. You guys all remember Ladarius Gunter trying to cover Julio Jones. So I went through that with you guys. I remember. So it's not like I don't know that a lot of those teams had big weaknesses, big holes in them. We were just Packer fans and rooting for them and hoping that they would be able to overcome their shortcomings at those positions. However, now this team is literally stacked. Stacked on stacked on stacked. You have Campbell as you're starting with Walker, Quay Walker, who's just an amazing. I think he can be defensive rookie of the year, and this guy is going to have a long, solid career for the Packers or, in this league in general. But Quay Walker, I just love what he brings. But he's your 2. You have Chris Barnes, like who I said started a couple years ago, as your 3. And then as your 1 is Devondre Campbell, who's an all-pro. That's like a crazy depth right there. And then Isaiah McDuffie's a super solid young player as your 4. Then, like I said, you have Kenny Clark as your starter. Then you have Jaron Reed as your number 2 on D-line. Then you have Dean Lowry as number 3, who's really a good player. They paid him decent money to stay here a couple years ago. And then you have, studs like Devontae Wyatt, who's a first-round pick. So as your 4, that's usually when you draft a first-round pick, he's going to come in and be a starter. This guy is coming in to be a 4. And taking some time to develop and just being a rotational piece at first. Quay Walker, as a first-round pick, usually you get drafted to be the number 1. They already had a solid middle linebacker. They just wanted some depth. Last year they drafted Stokes after they already had Jair Alexander, but to draft Stokes so high, it just shows the emphasis they put on defense. and they were still able to put together a really solid offense. This year they got Christian Watson, like I said, and Romeo Doubs. If you hit on these young guys and you're paying some old guys some money, but you hit on these young guys, that's how you win championships. That's how teams really grow in the NFL. It's too hard once all your guys start peaking to pay them all. So then guys, go elsewhere and your team kind of deflates. But when you have a good mix of veterans who you're paying and young guys who you're not paying, and those young guys can peak quick, that's how you start winning. So I'm super excited about this team. Can't wait to get kickoff going. We're not even done with the first quarter of these first round of games. 0-0 Bears, 49ers. But just fun to have football back. I know you guys are super excited as well. It is a long 6 months waiting for football to come back. But now we got 6 months straight. Every Sunday, football will be on. And this Packers team looks to have a big season. I'm excited to see what they can do on both sides of the ball. And hopefully the special teams can correct itself just enough that we can make some plays and hopefully get us another Lombardi. It's been 10 years, over 10 years, 11 years now, but hopefully we can do it. And happy birthday to me. It is 9/11, so we never forget what happened on 9/11, 2001. Sad day for America, for everybody involved. I was 14 years old at the time. It's been 21 years since that day, and I don't think the feelings about that day or remembering that day, I think we all kind of know where we were and our feelings about what happened and everything surrounding all of it. So still very sad and a tough memory, but I just wanted to give my condolences again to everybody who lost their families and their lives that day, and it is really sad. And I love seeing, it's Patriots Day. I love seeing Americans come together on this day and really support each other, and it's just, it kind of does give unity to a country that sometimes doesn't always seem unified. So it is 9/11. It is sad, but it also reminds us that we all are Americans together, and reminds us of how we came together after a time that was really tough for everybody. So thank you guys for watching. Go Packers. We're going against the Minnesota Vikings today. I'm trying to make a prediction in the other video. I keep switching my score, but I think this defense is going to hold the Vikings offense to not many points. I think it'll probably be 31-20. I think the Packers score enough and the defense holds them off. So that's my official prediction. The other one was me just guessing numbers. This one is official, 31-20. I think the Packers go into Minnesota and get the W. Aaron Jones probably gets a few touchdowns. I think A.J. Dillon gets going on the ground, and this defense probably scores a touchdown, a pick six, or a fumble recovery of Kirk Cousins. I just think this defense is going to be really tough. 20 points might be too much for the Minnesota Vikings, but if the Chiefs only scored 13 last year, and the Niners only scored 13 last year in the playoffs, could be tough sledding for teams this year against this Packers defense. It really could be. So, all right, guys, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video and to the channel. Put your predictions for the Packers-Vikings games or whatever game you are a fan of in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out. Thanks for watching, and go Packers.